Content over everything.
They always say that it's just stupid. They always trying to say, why do you not bring out the people?
No, because
I agree 100%.
Because to help anyone, you have to help yourself first, innit? That's a logical thing to say, innit? A rational person will say that. I can't, like, for example, if you ask me to buy you a jacket and I'm poor and I ain't got money, it doesn't make sense, innit?
Yeah.
I have to help myself, get the money, and then now you're asking me for, I have the money, I can buy you the jacket.
Yeah.
That sounds logical, right?
Yeah.
But then to be poor and then to ask someone, you understand that vice versa? It makes no logical sense.
No.
You have to help yourself first.
Yeah.
Change starts here. Then when you're good, and you can say, I'm gonna help this brother, I'm gonna help this brother, or I got that for you, come to my shop. But it starts with you first, innit? Yeah. I'm not, yeah, who's talking?
Let's go. Yeah. If you don't, you can just stand there, innit? You can just stand there, and it won't pick
But
you
I
up.
do.
No, but what we're saying isn't controversial.
It's not controversial.
You're saying people groups should be able to try to make their community better without being labelled bigots and hate nationalists or whatever it might be, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem we face. But
100%.
the problem I face, it only seems to be within the black community where that's an issue.
Yeah.
You see, because if you can point to any other people group here doing the same thing and there are big debates over it, you can't. And the reason why is because the problem with what we describe as the black community is there's so many different ideas being fed to them directly. Yeah, and more so towards the African American, Caribbean, and even Western African stance, but more so to the diaspora, I would say, right? Because of that, so many different ideas have been fed to them, and so many different education systems have been fed to them that they don't necessarily know where they stand, and they don't recognize how to achieve better. But one thing if you could sit there and say, you know what, collectively we're not doing good, that means something has to be done.
Yeah.
And the question is, what has to be done, and what is the method you're going to do? So with me, I've already put a method down called Black Betterment Building, where it's like black people being dedicated on black issues, done, isn't it? So if you're dedicated to fixing black issues for black people, then you are. And one of the values is not expecting someone else to fix your issue. That's why you have to have a black on black fix policy. Because you know, a lot of time when you talk about improving, someone says, "Oh well, we give charity." Charity's fine, right? But generally, it shouldn't be in the conversation of betterment, because charity means you're waiting for someone else to do something, but you have all the facilities to do it yourself. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I come out week to week. But this is what seems to be either deliberately, non-deliberately, I don't know, misconstrued, and that's why I'm persistent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do. Yeah. Was you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say. So, really, what do you think the main challenges of, like you're saying, building and betterment? Is when other people interfere, or do you feel like a lot of people have a lot of say in the community and distract you?
So the solution for that is forming an elite. So I've said it a few weeks now.
Yeah, I hear you keep talking.
Last week you said it.
Yeah.
Do you know? I was listening to your argument last week about your elites. Is that meant to be like a circle which how can I put it? Elites. You're trying to basically build a leadership platform, right? Black people that black people can look up to or take advice from.
It's like, well, let me use Islam as an example, right?
Yeah.
I think it's something wrong. Before you become a Muslim, you have to take your shahada, right? And that means the oath, meaning you confess that Allah is one and Muhammad is the still prophet, right? Okay. The reason you do that is because you might be trying to do some Muslim issues, and the guy next to you might be a Buddhist. So the first thing he's going to do is go, I want to do Buddhist stuff, right? So you can't really build. So you're looking for people who take their shahada, which you describe as Muslims, right? Well, for me, black betterment is like you have to take your oath, innit? You have to confess that I'm a black person, and I'm going to try to be dedicated to working on black issues of black people. That way, when I approach you, I know where your head's at. If I start with these other people, they're going to take it somewhere else. And all these discussions, you see it going somewhere else, right? So you start talking about black issues, you start talking about, what if you want to marry this person? What if you want to go to this place? Nothing to do with fixing black issues. To do with lust and fornication. You know what I'm saying? Nothing to do with black issues, right? So this is why I'm saying the elite. Now, when I say the elite, you got to think. The only thing a person has to do to join the elite is confess. As in,
so anyone can be an elite.
Any black person can be part of the elite if they confess. You don't have to have an education. You don't have to be rich.
Did you say confess?
You have to just confess that you want to do it.
That there is, okay.
You just confess that I'm a black person, I'm gonna have black people. Once you confess that, I know, okay, we can push this man in.
Okay.
Because you know what I mean?
Another question is, how do you deal with people that are, for example, that don't understand what the black issue is? Like, for example, Black the Van Man,
right.
He was talking about you've kind of isolated the problem, and the problem is bigger than it really is. For example, you're trying to say, why do you say black people? Why not say poor people?
All right, so I tried to give him like a system or a diagram to think about, right? Yeah. That's why I kept doing this kind of stuff, right? And so it's like this. From my observation, every time black people come together and they call themselves something else, whether that's gay, whether it's Christian, whether it's I don't know, a football player, whatever, right? Whatever category they put themselves in, after a certain time, you start seeing a dynamic. Yeah? And the dynamic is the darker skinned the person at the bottom and the light at the top. Generally, there's obviously some variance, but generally you find that, right?
Intersectionality, innit?
Well, you could call it that. What I'm saying is, that's because, first of all, there's a power structure already, and that power structure has a mindset. You know what I'm saying? So because of that, when people start reforming, they start going back to the default. The perfect example is like feminism, right? The European feminists, they wanted more freedom from the males. They thought they were oppressed.
Yeah,
but then
suffragettes.
The only issues that really got tackled was the European issues, feminist issues. But when all the other minority groups, quote-unquote minority groups came in, their issues wasn't really dealt with. Yeah? And that's quite consistent. Now, I'm not saying it's deliberate, it might be, yeah? But I'm saying that there's a mindset, it's a train that's already happened. So the only way to deal with it is to be away from it.
What year was the suffragette movement again? I don't
Oh gosh, you're talking about...
9/10 or something like that?
Yeah, but from there, there's first wave, second wave, third wave, all the waves.
Okay.
All the waves.
Okay.
Yeah?
So, to this day, innit?
Yeah, to this day. Yeah. Like, I mean, the thing is, we don't even recognize it. But, like, the perfect example is you look at America, right? You actually have black women being beaten by police officers, right? There is no feminist outcry. Yeah. But when R. Kelly and these people do whatever they're doing, then there's outcry. Yeah. When a black man is allegedly doing this kind of stuff, there's outcry. But when a black woman has been beaten by the authorities or hanged in a prison on her own, no outcry. No, what happened there? Yeah, because I'm being generous by saying their mindset's somewhere else. That's me being generous. I mean, maybe they're just straight racist, right? But what I'm saying is, it's
whose
not
mindset? Somewhere else.
The mindset of the people who are non-black who have authority in that particular segment.
See.
You know what I mean? So, do you know what I mean? So this is the thing. My thing is not focused on non-black people.
So is it more to you're trying to say so you're saying segregation is more better for the community then?
Awareness, right?
I think it's saying the community should work on developing itself first
before
it thinks about being.
Some people say you're trying to segregate yourself. Isn't that sort of?
Well, you see, it's like is this park integrated?
No.
Yes. So, I mean, there's no law that says you can't talk, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh, it's good, like, okay.
Yeah. So with your freedom to choose to focus on issues, we're not saying that. Okay, now banish all the Asian people, banish all the Jewish people. No, we're saying that we're going to come here and we realize there's an issue, and we're going to use the freedoms we have to fix the issues that were caused by the history of racism or the history of ignorance.
Going back to what you were saying earlier, would you say stuff like the women's rights movement took away from the civil rights movement in America? So,
Yeah.
I feel our culture, we don't oppress women as it is. Right. So if we had won the civil rights movement totally, there would have been equality between men and women anyway. Whereas I feel the women's rights movement took away black women from the civil rights movement. Do you understand?
I think one of the problems is people use things that are dedicated to black people and they use it for their own gain. Yeah, and we see that a lot. So that you just gave the example there. There was another example I was going to bring up. It literally just slipped my mind as you were talking. So, the minority stuff. So basically, black people were enslaved, right? And that it was called black people. And then in America, when they wanted to get rights for black people, rather than saying black people, they said minorities, right? Minorities. But then the ethnic minorities registered as women, Asians, and so forth. So because of that, you can still practice racism. I was giving this analogy that if I was a racist white business owner, I would just hire my gay son or my white wife rather than a black person, right? So, but then for me, this concept of hiring is old school. I'm more about setting up business for yourself, and that's just what it is, really. So yeah, it is what it is. So, but yeah, there's a good point that the gentleman raised about that. So that further adds to my point that when black people come together with other groups, for some reason, black people find themselves at the bottom, and people use the black agenda as a springboard. You know.
No, another thing I noticed, when black people get together and they talk about the issues, there's always someone that's trying to, as you would say, divert the question, or someone who tries to break that, hijack the. Why do you think that happens?
Because in all aspects as well. I don't think it's just the park, and I think in general.
Just in general, black people come together. There's always someone who wants to say, okay, let's break this up, everyone.
I think one of the things that black people collectively has been very good at is being subservient. It's like many black cultures and communities have mastered the art of serving other people, and we can break down each culture how it's done. Once you've done that for a certain amount of time, people start seeing it automatically. That's your role. So whenever you start, so for example, every culture that a black person makes is for everyone, and that's why you see, if you see any kind of black culture, you see who's actually running the profit of it. It's more so non-black, right? Even if you look in London, if you go look at like many of the Afro-Caribbean restaurants, many are not run by Afro-Caribbean people. Which I'm not saying that's right or wrong, because that could literally be Afro-Caribbean people not, taking control, right? But what I'm saying is you see that quite consistently.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think there needs to be a training mindset. Yeah. The main thing I could do here is to train black people to think about black people. That's it. My main goal is to make black people think, how can I benefit black people collectively? What can I do? How can I shift my way of living that everything I'm doing is inclusive of black betterment? That's the only thing I can do. If I can do that, someone better than me can come and just lead. I'm not here to lead anything. I'm just here to just make people think, and then collectively we can have betterment. Everything I say should make sense, and you should see a pattern, right? Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. But to answer your question, so just to further, sadly, black people are the masters of being subservient. So when you see here today, so what I'm saying, everything I say should be able to be demonstrated, or I'm lying, right? That's why you're going to see black people, black as everything, right? And they're going to tell you, as soon as you talk about how can we improve our situation, they're going to say, we need to include this person, we need to include that person, right? It's so consistent. But if you go over there, there'll be people from Arab background, Asian background, Jewish background, talking about their issues. And there's not one Jew, one Asian, one Arab saying, let's talk about, let's help these people. Let's use our minimum resources and help this other group. That's doing better than us anyway. Yeah. But so that's the sickness that we have to deal with. So what do you think we should do to fix that? How can we fix that?
How can like me as an individual, I'm a strong believer in education in general.
Right.
Just educating and making people understand what's going on. Like for example, this discussion we're having right now, someone might listen to it and say, you know what, that's absolutely true. Yeah? Or the people that, for example, when people in the park, those who call themselves black, want to have that discussion, they should always bear that in mind, that there may be people that want to break this conversation up. Yeah? And small things like, I reckon.
So what about the vice versa? Say if someone from a non-different background wants to genuinely help the black community, sometimes I feel like decent good white people and decent good Asian people see a certain struggle that a certain community goes through, but they genuinely want to help, but when they, because that's another sort of, I spoke to a couple of people about that scenario.
I agree. But what did I say black people are the masters of? Just a few minutes ago. Subservient, right?
Yeah.
So how can you get out of the subservient mindset if you're always depending on others? You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
he said let there be black leaders, people from the actual community group to lead it and to better it. I understand what it's, and I think that's a better option.
You need to learn leadership. You need to see the value of it. Like there's many black people who've never seen themselves in any kind of like valuable role. There's a brother, I'm not going to say his name, but when I came here, he said he'll only join a black, maybe he was joking, he'll only join a black group if the treasurer was European.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah, now I'm assuming he was joking. I'm assuming joking, but either way, that joke was in his head. That joke's not in my head. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, this is the sickness that we're dealing with, right?
No, but you know what? I understand that mentality.
You understand?
I don't agree with it,
right?
But I understand it because through experiences,
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust a black person with my money. I would more trust a white person with my money.
Yeah.
Through experiences.
Even if it's white people that's been robbing our money
Even
anyway,
even
you
though I
would
know
still-
my history and I know and I understand what's been going on with us, I just feel like in our day-to-day lives today, I just feel like because we don't have the education, because we don't have so much things, my brother's gonna be the one to rob me.
And it's important what the brother's saying because what he's saying is genuine. And
You should listen to it, yeah,
and there's many.
and find a
but,
solution.
but as the elders in the community, we failed you in, and it's our job to take you out of the space you're in and surround you with so much positivity that condition breaks. So right now, the way you've been educated is how you look upon things, isn't it? So you got to think. You're talking about, I assume you're around certain individuals who practice theft, right?
No.
Well,
I'm just assuming. I'm just saying, for me to put my money
Right.
into certain things, I just feel like through my experiences,
right.
my own, like people around me, my
Yes.
people,
Yes.
have let me. Like I feel like they'll let me down.
Where
I feel like I've seen my friend who's a white person.
Right.
I haven't seen that situation for him. If
Right.
you get what I mean? Like, I
Well,
haven't seen him.
I
be let
wouldn't
down
say
in
that's a
that
black
same
and
way.
white issue. I would say that.
We've been around
more black
people.
people.
That's the only thing I'll say. I'm sure
That's
there's
fair
a
enough.
lot of good
No,
black brothers out
That's
there
what
you
I
can
say.
trust. 100%.
And if the people around you don't steal, then isn't it more like maybe like a media narrative or how we're portrayed
Yes.
in public?
That's
that we
another-
almost have to rebrand ourselves as people who don't steal, don't mass kill or do mass murder.
The truth of the matter
or
is
anything like
how you've interpreted that piece of information. So you might be around 1 or 2, 3 brothers. Now, let me ask you. The white brothers and the black brothers, which one of them family-wise was more richer?
You know what? Both came from the same street.
So, yeah, but which family? Did their parents have work? Did they have income?
Yeah.
All right, so the European guy, mother and father?
No.
Not really, no. So,
But it was more like their family came from like they had a bit more, but it's just normal growing up.
so what you're saying is that European family had more than the black family?
Yeah.
So do you reckon that might be a contributing factor why the black family with less would be more likely to take from you?
Definitely.
Right? Okay, so one of the solutions is you only want to work with constructive black people who've been through hardship, but they don't let it define them when it comes to that kind of behavior. But also be around other black people who will probably have the same economic standard as your European friend. And you know what I mean? It's like the crimes that the poor commit is very different from the crimes that the rich commit. You know what I'm saying, right? And sadly, you might not be around rich people to judge their crimes. But I can show you it's much more severe.
That's got bigger impact.
Because their crimes are responsible for making communities poor. You see what I'm saying? But you just don't see it.
I mean, like,
They steal from a whole community.
not even like there's certain nations
You're
stealing
thinking
from a
of
whole country.
individual theft, like someone stealing from your pocket. They'll steal your pension. They'll
Yeah.
steal your resources from your land, and then that way you can't get up anyway. Whereas someone might steal £10 from you, you could go to work and recover that. Whereas if you've had your resources and your
taken away.
identity stolen, even then, how do you come back from that? Basically, which is
So what that's why I'm saying that we need to have people who push forward a code. And that's why I'm strong for this code and strong for this kind of like elite group. Because once you know what a person's about and you see them demonstrate what they understand and believe, they're less likely to swindle you. You know what I'm saying? Because everything they say, they should be able to confess. So right now, if you ask any person about me outside the street, you should get the same kind of content, same kind of dialogue, right? These other people who come in and they start making us do other things, follow their history, innit? See how consistent they are when it comes to helping black people. Ask them for their receipts. And most of them, if not all, have no receipts. All they have is opinions about what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But what I appreciate about what you've done is you've highlighted an issue that we need to address. And hopefully we can do like a segment on it about how do we break down this kind of distrust we have for each other. Because it like I said, it's more than just that. It's the whole, you've seen like the black doll, white doll kind of test, where kids prefer to see. Are you aware of this?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay.
they prefer to see white dolls.
Yeah. So this is so.
I've seen that social experiment.
You've seen that, right? And then they also. So let me break. So people at home so basically they go to certain communities and they say that which doll looks prettier, the European doll or the African doll, and the African children all say the European dog is beautiful. So there's already a psychological training, right? But there's also some other tests where what they do is, I think they put your hand in some kind of glass, and they put a coloured hand to touch you, and they monitor how you respond to the colour of the hand. Are you shocked? Are you scared? What it is? What I'm saying is society will...
So the black hand, they were more shocked?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I don't need to see no tests to know this happened, right? But what I'm saying, this is history of training.
Yeah.
So if we don't change these perceptions, if we don't take control, if we don't create media where people who look like us are in a good light, then it's going to keep carrying on. And the sad thing is, a non-black person can't represent you. They can't. They can't represent you. Yeah? It's like, you have to... So... When we talk about creating media, right? There's like rule sets. So a people group, they make a particular, say, film, right? And let's say it's a historical film. Even though it's historical, they're like, okay, these are historical facts, right? But this film represents these kind of people. So we're only going to show certain points that make this story, more beneficial to the people that's within it. Right? So what I mean by that is, for example, if Europeans made films on slavery, there's going to be a European hero. Why is that? Because Europeans don't want for people to watch a film and see what actually happened in those days.
They want to look like they saved the day.
They want to say there, right? That's a psychological thing. So we don't want to create negativity.
So Raven, how can we change that narrative and tell it from our perspective?
Well,
that's what I think is miseducation.
Get more black filmmakers, right? Or something like that.
Would you say that's the same? Sorry to cut you. For futuristic films, like apart from Black Panther, there's never really been black futuristic films where you'll see like white space ones where they go to Marses or there's alternative futures. But I've noticed since Black Panther there was never any films talking about, let's say, a prosperous black future or one where they show. Let me show you the direction of how I want black people to think, right? So the starting point is a black person who practices black betterment, meaning that any content they do, they're going to be aware that it's going to have a ripple effect and affect people, right? So because that's their standpoint, when they set up their companies and they're hiring their writers and directors, they're going to be the overseers and say, okay, we're going to look at this piece of content and we're going to make sure that it does not harm black people when it comes out, right? Once you do that, you're laughing. The perfect example of that is Bill Cosby. When Bill Cosby became, was it American's Dad? I think they call it American's Dad. So here's a guy no one really knew. He came up and then he was so loved at that time that the Europeans called him American Dad. He was welcome in every single household, blah, 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 right? That's because all his scripts were analysed. They analysed to make sure how are black people looked, how are they portrayed, and how can we represent. Every single one. And they made sure that if it wasn't positive, it got thrown out. Now, after that, look how many people love Bill Cosby, right? You see? Now, obviously today, they reversed it, innit? They started releasing all this kind of stuff, and now he's in jail, can't see, can't walk, whatever. Right? So what I'm saying is, that's how quick your public image can be changed by the media. So one day American Dad, next day American Rapist, whatever, right? So this is what I'm saying. If all black people had that kind of mentality, because let's just pretend
they'd all be loved by the media.
Let's just pretend that Bill Cosby did it. I don't know if he did it, but if he did, shame on him. Right? If he did it, right? It's suspicious, right? He was doing all these things allegedly while people call him American Dad because of what the media betrayed of him. So you see the power of the media.
Definitely.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Adding to what you're saying, don't you think that that society needs maybe groups of people or maybe a groups of people which can actually represent the black people? If that makes sense.
When you say groups, you mean black people? We can
black people, but in the public eye.
Yes.
And so that the population can see them as role models or leaders. Don't you think that's what is needed more?
I think
then the focus of excellence and
just to add to that, I think they do, but I think we tend to put sports people and musicians and stuff like that in the public eye, and people who are more scholarly and academically minded. Like we don't know many black writers, we don't know many, black playwrights and stuff like that. So we're the people that are put into the public eye. they're, I don't know, a footballer. Out of the million black kids that want to play football, only 11 can go in a team, only 2 might be black, and then that's our representative as a successful person.
I think what's more, sorry, brother.
What I mean, to make the image look good, that's what I mean. Like a family group or a people group, whatever that may be in it.
That's why I say the confession of black betterment is important, because if you have football players, basketball players, or musicians, if they confess that, then you can hold them to that accountability. That's what I'm saying. But also, it will guide the content of their music. Yeah. It will guide how they behave when they're football players on TV. Yeah. It will guide who they hang around, who they marry, all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So because of that, this is what I would say. So the code will be more important than that, because the code will create that. But we have to speak about that code.
Do you think the current black people in the public eye who are involved in music, do you think they have this kind of code that you talk about, or they detach from it?
No. They've been trained not to help black people. So
that's true. That there's a negative image out there. Yeah, they're not making it.
That's why you have. So, for example, if you don't confess you want to help black people, the chances you're going to help others. I said it last week, and I said this week. It's like nothing gets changed without it being aware, consciously aware of there's an issue, right? And once you're consciously aware, you can work on it. But one of the problems is we've been trained and conditioned to not be aware of our own shortcomings. That's why every time we're here, the first thing someone says, what about a non-black person? Because we've been trained to be subservient. So this is why I'm dedicated and I'm consistent. You see what I'm saying? The pop stars and the musicians, they hang around rich European areas and stuff. So you tend to find that most things they're going to do will be a gala around that. They're all going to have the same type of wife, they're all going to have the same type of household, and they're all going to invest in the same type of things. So they're not. But then when you see a person who somehow might get a shred of some kind of black betterment, for example, look at America, Colin Kaepernick, who decided he wanted they'll lose their career. I mean, they'll be shunned.
What's his name? Colin
Kaepernick. Okay. So if you don't know, Colin Kaepernick is the brother who decided he didn't want to sing the national anthem.
Kneels at that.
Kneels. As long as the issue of black murders by the state wasn't addressed, and then they fired him. They once again they changed the narrative. So originally the narrative would have been police brutality. Police brutality. Originally the narrative would have been you're a black monkey, you're an idiot, shut up, right? You can't do that anymore. Now what you're saying is undermining the army, and we don't tolerate this. We're not going to hire you.
And who is he? Is he a musician? What's his like?
No, he's a quarterback. He was a quarterback record player, and he got some knowledge at some age, and then he tried to make a difference in the black community, and he lost a lot of money, a lot of sponsors, and he's now taking a deal with some. I don't know what he's doing, but generally, what I'm saying, you're seeing that
I see what you're saying.
That if a black person wants to raise black issues, for example, the homosexual community. They wanted to have a say. They wanted to be proud of what they're doing, pride, this kind of stuff. You see that the homosexual, or the same gender loving, or the transgender, the LGBT, this community. You see on vodka, you see on McDonald's, you see on Facebook, you see everywhere you go at that time when they're celebrating. Like companies say, we embrace this, we support this. When you have Black Lives Matter and these kind of things, no company is saying we support the truth. Well, we don't support.
I haven't seen it.
You won't see it on vodka. You're not going to see it on McDonald's, whatever kind of thing. Because the black is contagious. So I'm saying.
Yeah, but you have to understand this. There's a counter argument for that. You do understand that the LGBT community, that movement, there are corporations and businesses that actually back that. They put money into that so that it can be advertised. Now, if you want, say, I don't know, if you want to better the black image, let's just say, there has to be people that believe in that ideology and put money in.
So
that's the only way really.
Everything is holistic, bro. And that's what I'm saying. It starts with an idea, but it starts with like building a business. Because without having a business or a corporation or an economic base, no one can invest in anything, right?
True,
So that's why I'm preaching black betterment building within economics.
You're saying, okay, go on.
So as an economic base, how would you feel about like? There's, let's say, 350 million black people in the diaspora. What if we all tax ourselves 1% and use that to fund the things that we want to do both in Africa and in the rest of the diaspora. Like, instead of waiting for people to actually fund us, why don't we just 1% of your earnings, 1% of yours, and that is specifically for, you know,
the betterment
of our people.
And I agree with this. One thing we need organisations, but before we can do that, the lady just said Muslims do this, right?
It's the norm.
Of course it's the norm. But with Muslims, there's an idea to cling to. So Islam is like a language. Does that make sense? Once you confess you're Muslim, we kind of know your story in the sense of we know what you believe. With black people, we come from so many different.
You're not left to make up your own mind with Islam. That's the difference.
Okay, there you go.
Black people, you might have an opportunity to come to make your own mind up, but a lot of them follow a norm.
And that's why I'm saying there needs to be a confession and a code. So it's like we have to identify what black betterment is and how to achieve it. Once we do that, people can say, I'm part of the black betterment
But
building.
the young ones aren't interested. Like our son's 21, trying to talk to him about black politics, things like that. I mean, we've taught him to make sure that he knows.
Right.
And already we're in a multicultural relationship. He's growing up in London. He's been exposed to things that make him not as interested as he should be. And I don't know if that's on purpose. That's what worries me a little, that he's not as interested. So despite all the hard work you're doing or someone else is doing, it may just go unnoticed because they're just not interested. We're not steering them that way.
Well, I think, you know, it comes down to like, how are you raising your children? Like, what values are you giving them? And like, black people helping black people has to be valuable. It has to make sense. If you, like I said, if you raise your, like, there's people who come to this park who's been raised that way, and when they come to this park, all they talk about is black issues. You see what I'm saying? And so that's it. But when we're growing up, we might not value these concepts. So,
but I realise as he's got older that he does know stuff, but he's not just necessarily talking to us. And like when we said we'd come here, he knew about it. He's 21 in uni. I didn't expect him to know about it. So they do surprise you, but it's the minority that are surprising, and it needs to be the majority, I think.
I think the problem we might have is your son is going to be indulging in whatever kind of trend or fad is going on, right? Now, the role of the community is to shape that trend and fad. If it was trendy to be socially aware,
he would be.
They would be because so how we become is like you influence the latest rapper or the latest football player, right? Or the latest filmmaker.
And let them set the trend.
That's what it is. That's the thing. So that's the goal. That's the goal on the top.
How can you build yourself up to get to that point where you can make?
I was going to add to that. Is there a Black Betterment community group which you can find online and be a part of?
Well, the thing is, so there's certain words. So you have words like Pan-Africanism, pro-blackness, whatever it might be. Those communities, they come together and they've all got different ideas, but they reckon there's one like common denominator. Like, we want black people to improve.
Yeah, Black Betterment.
Yeah.
If it was called Black Betterment Community, for example, I reckon, because I understand within the black, there's so many different ideology and how things should be done.
Right.
Don't you think if there was a separate group which focused on black betterment and that's it, without not really focusing on the little nitty gritty that people.
Politics,
religion, this is just about making black people better jobs, better whatever that may be.
So that's what I'm at. So if it hasn't been done, that's what I'm starting.
Yeah, that's something that I would love to be a part of.
That's the
black betterment community.
Literally. And the good thing about being part of the elite is that there isn't limited chairs. It's like. So we are training black people the value of looking after black people.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's the value. Yeah, it's very valuable, right? So that's where we're at. That's where
inclusive and for everyone, like what you mean.
Well, so in order to break the subservience, right, you have a black group coming together to work on black issues.
Yeah.
That's that simple, right? And
you do understand, for it to be successful, you have to make it cool. You have to make it things that the young people would want to be a part of.
The thing is, you have to add a certain level of edge to stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't swear. I don't say crazy kind of stuff like that. But the fact that I am a black person saying, "Be black focused," this is controversial, apparently. So I really have the edge.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If I was swearing and fornicating and all this kind of stuff, then that would they would use to tarnish what I'm saying. That's why I don't do that. I stick on the focus. Black people will help. I've been here for a couple of years, and you're never going to see a change in dialogue. I'm consistent, and that's what I'm preaching. So you should always be able to approach me, and I should always be able to put you somewhere. So if you want to improve your health or your economics or your creativity, I should have a network that I take you and I put you there.
100%.
Yeah. Now, how it should work is, I don't have all the resources, right? Someone greater than me will have this resource. They need to see me, reach out, and we speak to them. And we create the building. We create the weekly or the monthly get-together where black people are in a building discussing the future of black people and what's the best, because we need it. We have young brothers saying, I don't trust black people. We have young black sisters saying, I hate black people. We have rich people who will never marry a black person. Mixed black person, sorry, who will never marry a black person.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, of course. Now, I'm dealing with the self-hatred. I'm not talking about all other stuff. I'm dealing with how can we fix this self-hatred that has been taught to us. Yeah? And how I start is by forming the black elite. And all you have to do to be a black elite is confess to yourself or to someone else that you are a black person who will be dedicated on helping black people on black issues. That's what you have to do.
I want to ask a question, yeah?
Go ahead.
You know the black people that do have self-hatred and they have problems with other black people, right?
That's right, yeah.
How do you reach out to them? Because they might distance themselves from the black community. So unless they speak out, you'll never know. So how would you approach them and reach out to them to get them on board?
Unfortunately, at some point, some people will be left behind. At some point, yeah.
The ones that don't like black people?
No, it's not that's because we always will reach out, but with limited resources, there's not much we can do for certain things. We can set a template saying that all you have to do is abide by these rules, and you're within this kind of framework, right? Mm-hmm. If they don't want to do certain things, then they're left to their own devices. Better we focus the small resources we have on people who have influence and power, who's going to change things holistically, so the generation underneath them don't have to go through what they've gone through. At a certain point, there's a cut-off point. It's like a drug addict, yeah? We always want to help drug addicts. We always want it. But there might be a certain point where they're beyond the point of return. You know what I mean? There might be a point.
Okay.
You know how you want to define that. Okay. Now we're going to offer them the solution, but if it takes up too much resources, we're going to have to give it to somewhere else that's going to prevent there being drug addicts. You know what I mean? And then at some point, the drug addicts are going to die off. It sounds hard, but when you have minimum resources, all you can do is offer someone a space and go, you're always welcome here. But if you're destructive or you're doing all manner of craziness, then we can't bring you in. We can't really put you in a leadership role or in an organisation role, because you're not going to be able to function.
So you're limited by your resources now, but if your resources improve, then you can have more outreach to a lot of people.
Well, if the resources improve, then you're going to have a particular person who's an elite who's going to focus on fixing them. That'll be the area of interest.
Different departments and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it is. I mean, like I said, everyone's welcome, but with limited resources, we can't. Because when you come in, someone's go, what about knife crime? What about economics?
You've got to be realistic, innit?
You have to be realistic.
When you band together, you actually do make change.
Of
It
course.
actually works.
Of course.
Like, look at Grenfell, and then even that when they write in America, the moment all black people band together, change does happen. It's just not often and widespread enough, I think.
Well, no, it's not, and that's why the training has to happen, and the training comes from young, and the training comes from the mindset.
Yeah.
If you have a young person who they believe that a road is their road or their postcode, and they're going to kill a person who wears a different type of clothing or is from another kind of postcode, that's the value system in their mindset. That person could be a soldier defending black people from racism.
So it goes to what they're learning in
You see what I'm saying? If they want, they could be defending black people from being oppressed. You know what I mean? They could be dedicated to helping black people get to the next step. But somewhere along the line, they've been pushed to do these kind of things. So that's why we're educating young. But then it comes down to the partnerships and how black people treat their wives and how wives treat their husbands and how they raise their children. It's a full holistic kind of thing. Like I said, I haven't seen any other people group go through what black people's going through.
But you know what my thing is, everybody else has their own educational system.
Yeah.
They have their own cultural system that they can teach their kids.
Yes.
When I walk around in London and everywhere I go, I used to go to school in Golders Green.
Yes.
Like the Jews have got schools and everything. They got their own police, they got their own community. I'm like, alright, cool. When I go to school and I finish what I'm doing in school, I didn't end up liking people around me. It's only when I started learning and studying for myself, I realized, wait a minute, it's flipped, everything's flipped, everything's backwards.
Right.
I'm meant to love my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But it's like I never trust them. Growing in the school I went to,
No.
I was taught literally not to like people. I was taught it. I didn't like anyone growing up. I didn't trust anyone. It's only when I actually sat down myself and read books for myself and started watching certain documentaries for myself, I realised, wait a minute, I can't even step out and stab someone anymore. I can't even do that again. Because I thought like, right, wait a minute, everything's fucked. And I've got children coming up, I don't want them to go through the same thing.
Thank you, bro. What you said is a very valuable point, and there's so many brothers and sisters who are just like that, right? They don't even know they've been trained to hate black people. They don't even know. It makes sense to hate black people. It makes sense to look at other people groups and see them as but look at black people as inferior, foolish, backwards.
Sorry to cut you one more time, sorry, just to finish. I was explaining to one of my friends, my younger friend, I was explaining like, you see when you're walking down the road and you see another black person and you get that eye thing, and saying you walk down the road and you pass a white or an Asian person and you don't even have to look at them. I'm trying to explain to him is a situation where you can sense another person's strength, you can sense your own type of person's strength. Right. I don't fear Asians not Asian, I don't fear other people. So when I see them and I'm walking, I wouldn't even take off my hoodie to look who's behind me, because there's no fear. But if that was a black guy, I need to check him out from head to toe. Yeah, of course. Then I carry on my day. But so I feel like it's a strength thing where we've misplaced it. Where when I see him in his eye, it's because we relate. It's because we relate why we're looking at each other. But I thought like, right, what is he looking at me for?
Well, and that's
how would you judge if he's safe or not? That black person that might be behind you. How would you judge? Like,
because they nod to you.
Huh?
Have you ever had that?
In the eye and you get that feeling.
Have you ever had that? You see someone you don't know, a black person you don't know, and you just nod to them.
That's right.
And that's a unity that we actually have that we don't realise. You go anywhere and you might see someone and it's not negative. You just acknowledge them. Like white people don't always do that with each other, even some Asian people. But we as black people, we do acknowledge each other, and we do have this thing that we sense unity amongst us when we're, I don't know, a million miles away somewhere else.
They'll misplace it as,
I understand what he's saying.
At me, why are you looking at me?
Growing up in London.
Growing up in London. Responsibility on the other person and not enough on yourself. Because if you weren't to think like that, it wouldn't matter to you what the other black person's doing. You just do what you were doing anyway. And then eventually all of you would be doing the same thing. Yeah, but maybe at some point you have to leave that all behind if you truly want change.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and just be you, just be. I think because some of it you carry a lot of bitterness.
Yeah, no, I see someone and I would nod them and I'd say hi.
This is what he would.
You know?
Yeah, no,
I'm just saying, I mean,
I've grown up
from experience being with you, I've not experienced any sort of issues from black people, mostly from Asian, when they see the two of us together. But because I ignore it and carry on, it's not an issue.
May I just jump in there because you've highlighted the point. And this is what I'm trying to train black people, that you guys identify as a mixed couple, Asian lady.
I just identify as me.
Yeah. But you're saying that from a community, Asian community.
Yes.
You're getting much more grief for the fact that an Asian person is with
it
black
was hard when we were younger.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think my own attitude helps me. Sometimes you can hinder yourself if you think a certain way.
Now, sister, this is what I'm hoping you guys have had a prosperous life. But this is what I have to train black people, as in like. You are going to more likely to experience this kind of mentality from outside groups, but from black people, you're always going to. I always see the most welcoming of all groups. From what I've seen, black people will always be inclusive, invited to our house, to our culture, and so forth. Other groups, you tend to find like you're actually marrying down, or you're, you know what I mean? So for me,
very true.
The solution is black people have to look within.
Yeah.
I have to train black people that you can't go around begging other community groups to love you. You've got to love yourself.
Yeah. Or just even having a preconceived notion of what it's going to be like, because you've done that for a long, long time. Right. So if you just think of how you feel and the things that you want, you might find that it all works out anyway. Like what you were saying about not trusting a black person. If thinking like that holds you back, if you know what I mean, and if all of you continue to think that, because Asian, like Muslims, at some point we stop thinking like that and we think collectively, which is why we help our brothers and sisters. We're giving arms, we're doing things back home, you know, like it's just, I think to some extent you would go a lot further if you thought a lot less about it all. I know we argue about this, don't we?
Well,
but you have to think about it, and you have to.
You want to act upon what you feel.
Yeah, of course, but then you
they say,
can't
what
be
you looking at,
worrying
and
about
again-
what the other person's
Yeah, but it's
doing.
what he
just
said, innit? You know,
own what
sometimes when
are.
someone looks at you too
And I
long,
agree with
it's
you
to
what you
give
were
them the
saying,
nod,
that some
innit?
people
Just
can't.
show them that it's not
Like
a beef
Harriet
thing.
Tubman
It's like a little
she
thing.
wanted to shoot some of the
Some people
slaves
don't know that.
didn't
Sometimes
wanna
you're looking,
escape.
They
Like,
don't
because they didn't
you say what you
understand.
say, look, and then it's like,
she was taking
yeah.
them to
But now,
freedom. So I feel with what you're doing, if you started seeing the community actually get better, like black betterment, then you would attract
when I was young, I
people.
found out I got
Those that were
fights.
apprehensive with your movement in the beginning, if they see results, if they see, you know, I don't know, situations, society, whatever have you actually getting better, I feel that you would actually attract more people. What I think,
The mindset would
yeah,
change.
this sort of being in the West, it's very much about individualism.
Definitely.
And I feel like, sorry to just go to a segue, like our kids right now, our communities should be raising our kids, because that's what black people do. Their communities, not just a single mother, not even with religion, but
She's right.
Yeah.
Even
But-
places just to
Where's your
community.
yeah, where the
Yeah.
community go. Whereas, because you've got so many individuals raising kids, that's not good for the black community, because then you have individuals running around, stabbing, killing, what have you. If I don't know, if any of you had a son and I saw them doing something wrong, I should be able to say, hey, go home. Like, even as a stranger, if I just saw a little black kid doing something, I should be able to say, hey, go home. And you should thank me for sending your son home.
But you won't.
Or do you see what I'm saying? Like, because us raising a community, it makes it easier. There are single mothers, there are couples even, not just single mothers, because that's what they always identify the black people with as well. But even couples, like, you can help out. Like, do you get what I'm saying? You can, not saying police their kids, but we have this thing, you know, if I was going to school and I wanted to bunk off and I saw one of my parents' friends or something, like, she would send me home, or I might think twice about doing it because of that sort of structure.
So we don't have that. We don't have a community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, basically. Well, we do, but I just
but we don't-
not one that's good for ourselves.
It's weak community.
I think purpose is important, and I've really defined the purpose. The purpose is black people and black people, black people. It's you know, and you're striving for better. If you do that in every area of people activity, then you're going to see change. Now, I think Leigh was talking about a mosque and stuff. One thing that we'll say is maybe like an African or a black or whatever center building in certain places where you go every Sunday, Saturday, whatever, Friday, I don't know, and then you discuss what is it that we can be doing in this area, this community for better. You know, what is needed.
Interaction.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? One thing I will push now definitely, like, because easy tangible solutions is we're in a digital age now, and we don't necessarily always live next to each other. So for example, brother, you could form a group on WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever it might be, and you could add all your black friends, right? Every time you get good information, constructive information, you just post it in there. So your friends will be none the wiser. You have a collective digital center, literally, where they're always going. Every time things are posted, they're seeing it, and you can have a rule set that in this group we're only allowed to post constructive information on this topic towards black people. That's what I've got. So, you know, I've learned every day because there's hundreds of people in groups I'm in who's constantly teaching me. Yeah. So when it comes to tangible stuff, I would recommend that. So either join a Black Betterment networking group or form your own with your friends. So you could join my one, right? And the information I give you, you could form your own one. Well, yeah, you know what I mean? So you become like the link, almost like, I don't know what the word would be, like
Cryptocurrency or something like that.
Well,
It's kind of linked to that.
cryptocurrency is
No, the same concept though, like sort of like promoting things, you know what I mean?
yeah, I guess. Well, digital. If you're talking about digital world and stuff, digital space. But yeah, so that's what I would recommend. And the thing is, everyone at home can do this, right? So here's the action, right? Try this. Try to set up a WhatsApp group if you've got WhatsApp, or a Facebook group, whatever, and add all your black friends, all your black family, right? And anytime you get constructive information, tell them to post it in there. Yeah? Only black content. Only black content. Just post it in there, and what you're going to see, you're going to start seeing the mindset. How you start seeing black people will change. If someone's in a group where all they're seeing is positive images, it really changes psychology. Yeah. So this is a tangible start. Yeah. That's a tangible start. So that's what I would recommend, bro. And hopefully you won't go through, or your friends won't go through, or your offspring won't go through some of the things that you were feeling a few years ago. Do you know what I mean? Because that's our loss when our community feels this way. Do you know what I mean? Any questions? I was meant to actually chair another debate, but I don't know if they hear you. So yeah. So boom.
Content over everything. From now to
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Yeah, and so take the point. That's right, he did claim that, yes. And I'm saying it again. I'm saying it again. You're undercover Muslim. You're undercover Muslim.
So what are you?
No, he's not.
Are you pretending to be a Christian?
Yeah.
Are you pretending to be a Christian?
But why is it putting a beard like that?
Why are you following the man that's with a 6-year-old? Talk to me.
He's fondled a 6-year-old. Does that make you proud? Watch them run. Watch them run. Look.